Welcome to Night Bites. Welcome, friends. Welcome to our December storytelling for Night Bites as we join Claudius again and the West End Coven. When we last left off, Claudius was at the Coven house with his now, I don't know, he thinks of her as a queen, but Tamara, who's his kind of head of the Coven house in Oakwood, our city on the west coast of the USA, over by its sister city Chumasha from my Bringers of the Light series, Kyanite Fairy Wing. And when we left off with Claudius, he is hunting and haunted by Melancholy, the one girl, the one vampire who he wants to be his queen, but they just cannot seem to get together. And this Night Bites, like Dark Matters series that I write as part of my book series, and all of my ebooks are free to read. If you like what you hear here on wherever you're listening to this, with a podcast or YouTube, you can go to any ebook provider and look for TAMI Lynn Chambers, or look for the name of any of these book series, and anywhere ebooks are at, all of my ebooks are free to read, so you can download and follow along with the audio series. I have a lot of audiobooks that I've recorded as well that are out there on the podcast. There's playlists for them on Spotify and on YouTube. So you can imbibe with whatever you want. But the Bringers of the Light, this kind of Dark Matters series, is the shadow side of the Bringers of the Light series. It's all of my little darker beings who are trying to make their way to the light, but they just haven't gotten there yet. And you know what? That's you, that's me, that's all of us. We're trying to get back to the light. We're trying to get back to Source God. Like, that's part of our purpose, is shedding all of these shadows and healing all these shadows and things to go back to the light. And so our vamps and all of our other darker beings are all kind of working on the same thing as our planet works on ascending to higher streams of consciousness and higher frequencies. So right now we're working with Claudius, and when we last left off, he's still haunted by Melancholy. Is he ever going to see her again? And this whole series started as a quick storytelling that was just an oral story. It was nothing written down. It was just like a stream of conscious channeling called Soul Shift. So that's the very first story where we meet Claudius. So if you want to take your love drive a little bit further, because it can get slightly erotica. We just do tinges of the spooky and tinges of the erotica for various reasons that we're not going to go into right now, but we have our reasons for why we do the things we do here on the channel. So you can choose to imbibe this story as just a fun little spooky little story, or you can take it deeper, and I don't know, maybe I'll later come on and talk about more, but I'm not sure. Let's get into the story, though, before we go any further. What is going to happen with Claudius and Tamara and the girls at the West End Coven? So this is our December story, The Christmas Kringle. Chapter 1, Expectant Joy and Holiday Charms. Claudius sat up in his coffin. He had overslept again. This dratted winter weather had him feeling a little, well, he wasn't sure how he felt, and that could be something that got him into trouble. There was a note stuck on the lid of the coffin. Tamara was running an errand and would be back soon. Well, that errand could mean anything. Tamara was often overtaken by shiny things and would wander the forests of Oakwood for days. When Claudius had turned her in the woods of the Smoky Mountains, he hadn't counted on her being a fairy. He had seen only a beautiful woman, beckoning him from the tree line. And while you know Claudius, always a sucker for a beautiful bite. Once turned, and Claudius soon realized that she had wanted this all along. Tamara could daywalk. Something about her fairy blood allowed her to walk the liminal spaces and take in all the sunlight she wanted without so much as a tiny burn on her already sparkly alabaster skin. So Tamara got to go out of the Coven house day after day while Claudius slept in the dark, dank soil of his motherland. Lucky wench, he spat disapprovingly. If he had only known. Well, no more reason to keep crying over spilt milk. Claudius sent a signal to Tamara, and she pinged back. I can't right now, I'm busy. Heck, he had only wanted her to stop by the bakery to get him some more of those sugar and cinnamon-dusted Kringles that everyone was raving about. All over the Coven house, he could hear the girls biting into those crispy, crunchy Kringle cookies. But when he'd made it down to the kitchen after hours, all he'd find were the greasy blots, the cookies left behind on the hollyberry Christmas tray that Tamara had purchased from Relic's bookshop. He'd told her to stay away from that place. It was run by those twin sisters, and one of them was a bringer of the light agent. Claudius didn't want any trouble, at least not right now. It was the holidays around Oakwood and Chumasha, and he was taking a break and trying to figure out what he wanted to do in the coming year. This, a great task he'd been doing for so long now, he almost couldn't count. The doorbell chimed, and he heard one of the girls, Rory, he thought, answer the door. They'd ordered pizza, not so much for the holiday movie the girls had playing in the background, but more so to play with the cute delivery guy that kept showing up around the old Victorian house with the gingerbread trim around the perimeter. They'd already had their way with him so many times, and yet he just kept coming back for more. A few more little sips of his pristine blood wouldn't hurt. He didn't seem to care, and the lovemaking with him was so fiery and hot. Rory shut the door behind him, and the girls folded in around him as Claudius picked up the scent of arousal, bloodlust, and pepperoni. Only 2 more days until the holiday, Claudius thought, as his mind once more thought about Melancholy. Would he finally get to see her before the year ended? And what if he did? What then? A secret treat. Melancholy looked out over the bluffs of Oakwood. She'd ridden up on her favorite motorcycle. The Moto Guzzi's tough little engine chugged along with her breathing. For Melancholy, motorcycles were like her familiars. She loved each one of them with her heart, and for that they took her on all these amazing adventures. She'd fed long and hard a few nights in a row, so there was no need to drink tonight. Her mind was on other things. She'd returned to Oakwood for 2 reasons. One was to scope out that guy Matthias from the party so many moons ago. Claudius had wickedly turned the guy and then left him for naught. Melancholy had left her calling card for Matthias, but had never heard back from him. She felt like they'd made a connection that night at the Samhain party. Maybe she was imagining things. And then there was the matter of Claudius. What should she do about him? Dark Matters had warned her to stay away from him. Her status was high frequency, and she wasn't supposed to associate with the lower guard of Dark Matters HQ. Melancholy had wondered why Claudius, a Master Vamp, had been so vehemently downgraded in status. She'd heard rumors that he wanted it that way, that he tired of all the high-profile work and just wanted to rule over Oakwood with its quirky constituents. Well, they'd given him that much. He'd earned it. But somehow Melancholy wondered if Claudius wasn't cheating himself. Well, she would find out tonight. Her blood yearned to see him, if only for a moment. When star-crossed lovers combine, then the magic made is twice as powerful. And Claudius was like an amplifier for Melancholy, one that could bring out her good side or enliven her wicked one. They'd had lifetimes of playing this game, and she grew tired of its fickleness. This time she would decide whether they should come together and work things out, or whether she should sever the ties that bind altogether, letting him fade from her soul memories like a wisp of warm air on the breeze. Oh, Claudius, why does it have to be like this? Melancholy thought, as she planned just how she would approach him and the exact words she would send into his soul. Chapter 3. The Kringles. Claudius took a long, hard bite, and the Kringle cookie crumbled down the front of his cashmere sweater. He'd finally gotten the girls to leave a bag of the darn cookies outside his door, with the threat that if anyone ate them, they'd be thrown out far away from Oakwood and Claudius's care. Now, no vampire wants to be excommunicated by its master, and so the girls had done as they'd been told, but not without sneering at the bag of warm-baked treats and hoping that Claudius didn't sicken after eating so many. He had a wicked sweet tooth, and that, combined with his short fuse, made him volatile if he didn't get his treats and his feeds. Tonight, Claudius had arranged a party at the Coven house. He'd had Tamara run over to the college and drop flyers about a hot holiday party at the West End Coven. In the outer circles of town, the Coven had been advertised in break rooms and back rooms, as a brothel/bed and breakfast, if either could be such a thing. The girls had been trained in the art of geisha, shiatsu massage, tantric arts, and more. This was no ordinary brothel. It was high-end and only accepted the rich echelons from around town. Oakwood College was privately owned by some rich investors and would only take on the town and surrounding area's most upper-crust collegiates. Partygoers, male and female, got dressed to the nines for the holiday party, and in no time they were using the secret knock and passwords to obtain access to the Coven house. Claudius made a grand entrance into the downstairs foyer after awaking from his slumber and crunching on half a dozen Kringle cookies. He was sugar high and ready to party. Now, when Claudius got this way, he could be rather cavalier and uncaring. He didn't care if he turned unsuspecting partygoers, knowing he'd leave the girls to clean up after him. They could keep whoever they wanted and drain the rest. His team of cleaners would ensure that bodies disappeared, medical records were fudged, and relatives paid off handsomely if any questions were asked. Wow, he's powerful. Claudius spotted a pert young blonde girl at the edge of the dining room and started to make a move. He heard something in his mind. "You don't want her," a familiar and old voice said into his mind. His heart started. "Meet me outside in the gazebo and don't be late." Melancholy signed off as she straightened her hair and bit down hard on her lip, drawing blood. That would make his blood less boil, she thought. But she wasn't around for consummating desires. She had more serious things to discuss. A bat flew down and around the ceiling of the gazebo. It was scoping out the scene. Satisfied, Claudius materialized as himself. He was nervous, he realized, and he tried to quell the anxiety in his gut. Why did she make him feel this way? He was elated at the sight of her. He wanted to feed and make love to her at the same time. But she put up her hand to stop him from moving in too close. "It's been too long," Melancholy said, with all intent of watching him squirm for her. She, too, had a bloodlust so strong for him that she had to take deep breaths, deep breaths to quell her emotions. Take deep breaths now. "Yes," he said, his fangs glinting in the moonlight. "It's been too long. Why do you stand there and tease me this way?" he said, yearning to touch her. "Because I have to be sure," she said to him. "Sure of what?" He drooled down the front of his sweater. "Sure that your heart is true. Sure that we could find a new way together," she said, pausing and hoping her intention would become clear to him. He stood there in a stupor, wanting to grab her and fly through the night, keeping her all to himself. "I want you to denounce your dark nature and pledge yourself to the light," she said, wanting him to get it. And slowly, he tried to understand. And slowly, the clarity came. She wanted him to denounce dark matters and, to his apparent horror, become a bringer of the light. If you can't do this for me, then we have no reason to continue on like this. Melancholy hoped he would understand. And he did, but not in the way she thought. He spat blood on the floor. She turned on him, he realized. She turned on all of them. Freaking heck, he thought, and said out loud, "You've become a bringer of the light? How could you?" So he didn't get it, she thought, as a tear came to her eyes. He didn't want her. He didn't want to change. Maybe he never would. "I was wrong to come here tonight," she said, realizing that all her wishing that he would change, that he might come through and surprise her, was unfounded. He loved the darkness too much. And with that, she turned and dematerialized around him, leaving a puff of pink smoke and her signature calling card. On it, she wrote, "Think about it, and then let me know, but only when you've made the right choice. If not, then we have nothing more to do with each other." The card was sealed with a blood kiss. Claudius sucked in air and blew out his breath long and hard. How could she do this to him, he thought. However, rather than tear up the card, he pocketed it in his breast pocket, where it mingled with the greasy napkin that held the last Kringle cookie for later. How could she do this to us? He didn't know if he was mad, sad, or indifferent right now. And so he did what was most familiar to him. The pert blonde girl was neither seen nor heard from again. Oh, I don't know. I love these. I love these. I don't know if you do or not, but anyway. So I don't know what is going to happen next. We're going to be doing these. We do these once a month. So January is when we'll find out what is going on. He kept the calling card. So maybe he's thinking about it, whatever it is, and whatever that means. And what does it mean to go from dark matters to being a bringer of the light? And what would dark orders, Matters HQ or whatever even allow that to happen? And then what would happen with the Coven house and Tamara and all the Coven girls? Where would Claudius go and what would he do? Would he hook up with Takar and Abigail and all our bringers to life friends? I don't know. Maggie Chalmers is she's part of Dark Matters. I don't know. Too much to think about here. So I don't know, just like you don't know, because I don't write these the way that everybody else does. I just channel them in every month. And so I get to be surprised just like you do. So join me again next month, if you want, for the Night Bites. And I don't know what's coming next on the channel. We'll see. We may do Bringer to the Light Sunday coming up here. We haven't done a love reading in a long time. We may do something like that. But anyway, I don't know. It's just like you don't know. And we will see you guys all again very, very soon. Take care. This episode has been brought to you by Loveland Carnival. Tuesday and Friday nights, come see Sarah the Strong Lady as she balances Seamus McRibbit and a host of other characters on her balancing wheel of strength. Join us for 50% off popcorn nights on Wednesdays and a special showing of the magical, mystical world of Loveland on the big screen in the city park. Loveland Carnival, a place where all kids, big and small, are welcome.